Blog Talk Radio.
Awake from the dream of the picture you painted. If you want it, proclaim it. Say it loud and proclaim it. Make sure you leave with something more than you came with. You will achieve, fueled by the will to attain it. So no more complaining, proclaim it.
Peace and blessings, everyone, and welcome to ProclaimItRadio.com. I am your host, Sister Akila Muhammad from Washington, D.C. Proclaim It Radio is about positivity, good news, growth, health, life, and love. We promote people who are proclaiming their space in this world and exuding the greatness that they possess inside. We will feature entrepreneurs, go-getters, and people who are representing themselves and their gifts to the world in a positive light. You all are in for a very special treat today because we have three powerful sisters who represent modesty to the fullest extent. So today's show is about modesty being a lifestyle. I'm going to have each sister take about 30 seconds to introduce themselves, and we'll get started. So I want to start out with our youngest sister, Sister Halimah. Assalamu alaikum, ma'am.
Wa alaikum salam.
And how are you doing this early afternoon?
I am doing well. I'm just very excited to be on this call and to not only, be a part of it, but to hear the other speakers and just learn and grow.
Yes, ma'am. Praise be to Allah. So I wanted to, if you could take about 30 seconds to just introduce yourself, what kind of things that you do with modesty, and just really show us who you are.
Okay, well, my name is Halimah. I have an inspiring fashion line and brand, Halimah Nia. It's a combination of my first name and my middle name, Nia, which means purpose. And I love to write, so I do creative writing. So I write about different topics and things of that nature. I've had the wonderful opportunity of having some of my writings published in Virtuous magazine as well as the Final Call newspaper. And I also have a love for fashion, so I love to do video posts and blog posts, pictures of just modest fashion, fashionable clothing. I want to show the world that you can be modest and beautiful and that you do not have to look frumpy or old. A lot of people have this this thought in their mind that you have to be frumpy, to look modest, or they imagine colonial wear if someone says modest, and that's not what it has to be. And it's so important for us as women to respect ourselves and to be modest. And I just want to encourage young girls and women to just embrace a modest lifestyle. So I strive to do that with being visual, because I know many people are visual. So instead of talking a lot about it, I just like to just show you. Let me just show you what I mean. And so that's why I love pictures and I love videos. I have a YouTube channel and I have a website.
Yes, ma'am, and that is so wonderful because that is true. We always hear people talking about modesty, but we have to see that it can look beautiful. So I know I admire your blog and your YouTube videos because I just think they're so wonderful, especially at your age. And I want to go ahead and introduce our next guest. I want to introduce Sister Krystina Muhammad. And Sister Krystina, if you could just take about 30 seconds to talk about yourself, what you're doing with modesty, and why it's important to you.
Assalamu alaikum. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am. Walaikum salam.
Okay. Praise be to Allah. Well, as Sister Kila said, my name is Krystina Muhammad. I'm from Wilmington, Delaware. What I do is I have a fashion line, which is called Malika K. Malika is Arabic for queen, and K happens to be the first letter of my name. I'm also a seamstress, of course, so I personally create most of my designs, well, actually all of them. So I'm a seamstress and I'm a designer. I do write a little bit. I've had the opportunity to write in Brother Kevin A. Muhammad's book, The Key to Modesty and Longevity and Health. I also had the opportunity to write an article for Virtue magazine. So I do a little bit of that, but I'm mainly a seamstress. So my thing is just empowering to be colorful, not necessarily changing the way that we dress to fit into society, but taking what we've already been given and kind of creating it to fit ourselves, our own individual personalities. Although we have modesty, and I think that is the most wonderful thing about it, but how do we make modesty ourselves? So I really take pride in doing that when I do my own creations.
Yes, ma'am. And see, I love that. We really have been given the best form of attire. We've been given the best thing for us, and we can make it fun. And that's one thing that I do like about your fashion line. Everything is so colorful and so pretty, and you're so creative with the different styles that you use, and it's just all still modest but just very beautiful. So I definitely wanted to thank you as well for coming to our show. And I want to take it to another guest that we have, Sister Janay Muhammad, and I know Sister Janay is also featured in The Power of Modesty, and I just wanted to have her come on, and we had her actually on our last Modesty show as well, and I wanted to bring her back to speak a little bit more about some of the things that she knows. But Sister Janay, if you will introduce yourself as well, ma'am, that would be wonderful.
Assalamu alaikum. My name is Janay Muhammad, also from Wilmington, Delaware. I'm actually Sister Krystina's sister-in-law, and we pretty much, I push her brand as much as I possibly can because I believe in what she's doing. I've also written a few articles for Evan Muhammad's website. I have written a few articles for Tamora's website. I believe hers is modestyinternational.com. And I'm also a contributor, as Sister Keela said, for the Power of Modesty book. I don't know what else to say that I haven't already said before. Other than I'm an advocate for modesty and home birthing. And, hopefully this time next year I will be a midwife. Insha'Allah. Pretty much living my life as modesty as I possibly can.
Yes, ma'am. Praise be to Allah. And see, that is what this show is about today, about modesty. It's not just something that we talk about or something that we say. It's something that is an everyday thing. And I want to go ahead and get right into our questions for today because that's what we really need to talk about. We are talking about how it's a movement and how we're doing this together. We have the cover girls, but what does it really mean? What does it mean every single day when I wake up? What does that mean for me? So I want to take it to Sister Halimah and just ask you that question. When you think of the term modesty as a lifestyle or modesty as a movement, what does that really mean to you? So I'll take it to Sister Halimah.
Yes, ma'am. 1 second. Can you repeat your question, please?
Yes, ma'am. So I was just saying, when you think of modesty being a movement and a lifestyle, what does that mean to you?
Well, to me, that means that it's something, modesty is something that has to be internalized within you. It has to be something that you believe in. It can't be something that someone is pushing on you or what you should do or anything of that nature. It has to be what you firmly believe in, because if it's not, it won't be sincere and people can see it. They'll see it from you, and the way you even walk, the way you even go about your life, we can see, the world can see that you're not 100% with this. You don't 100% believe in this, and that makes it unattractive. So, and the thing with modesty is that it's not just talk. It really is all about the walk, and you can't, and one of the things is that, to be modest, it takes a strong woman. It takes a woman who has a certain level of confidence. It takes a woman that has a certain relationship with Allah and God, and it takes a woman who has a certain amount of self-esteem, because, being in this world, women don't dress modestly. That's not the norm. That's not what's hot or what's popular. So first of all, you're going against what's expected, and then the way people don't find that attractive, like people are going to look at you, in a different way. So you have to have a certain level of confidence to know that, okay, no, I'm still beautiful, I'm still, everything that I am. And just because, somebody doesn't think that because I'm covered, that doesn't, change anything. I'm still pretty regardless of the fact that you cannot see my shape or my hair or my assets, because I'm so much more than that. That takes confidence. And that's why a lot of times, women and girls, I found, that's why they don't cover. It's not because they don't, agree, explain why modesty is important. It really, if you really get down to it, it's really the lack of esteem and hurt and pain and insecurities they have inside. It takes that brings something to them when they're walking and they see the way that a boy looks at them. You know, that makes them feel, unfortunately, good, because that, you know, that helps their insecurities and things of that nature. So that's why we have to that's why I strive to, like, help with the self-esteem issues and the confidence issues, and like I said, the relationship with Allah. Because, you know, once you have a relationship with him, you realize that everything I do in my life is about him. So if he desires for me to be a cover girl, if he desires for me to, you know, cover myself, then that's all that matters. I could care less what anybody else says, and that takes a strong woman. So those are three really important things when it comes to, you know, the modesty movement and, you know, moving forward with that and just, you know, living a modest lifestyle is really, you know, like internalizing it for yourself and not what you should do or anything like that. It's about you, like what you believe in, and you really have to make it about yourself, because you're, at the end of the day, you're the one that everybody, you know, sees. Like, you're, like, we're looking at you, so you have to, I mean, you got to be real with yourself. You have to be real with yourself. If that makes any sense, if that's understood where I'm going.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. I understand everything that you're saying, especially with the part about being real with yourself, because the thing is, when we live our lives every day, when we're at work, when we're at school, when we're just in the street, you can't hide when you're dressed modestly. It's actually easier in some ways to look like everybody else, because at least you'll blend in. If you're dressing modestly, not only will people come at you with questions, they'll give you looks. They're like, where are you from? They have all types. So you can't hide. So you have to have some level of esteem to even walk dressed modestly. Because although you're not getting the same type of attention, you're going to get a different attention. And it has to be an attention that has questions that you have to have a certain level of confidence to answer sometimes. So I want to take it to Sister Krystina as well. And I wanted to ask you as well, like, what does it mean to you when you have to, what does your day consist of when you're thinking about getting an outfit together in order to leave your house?
Good question. I guess it usually depends on if I want to keep it casual or dressy, which would depend on the type of material I use. But I guess at this point in my life, I have gotten accustomed to, before I walk out my house, to just ask myself, you know, would Allah be pleased with me if I left my house looking this way? Am I representing who I say I am if I'm leaving my house this way, or if I'm looking that way? Or, you know, what would people think if they see me looking other than who I'm supposed to be? So after I go through that, that whole phase of checking myself as far as where I am mentally, if I feel like being casual, if I just want to throw on some sweats or, you know, a hat or something, I really don't feel like getting dressed up, it's a case of, okay, is it really that difficult for me to put on the appropriate garment? Is it really that difficult for me to put on a headpiece right now? I know you don't really want to put one on because you just want to run out, but is it that difficult? So I usually go through that phase of myself, but usually it's not that difficult, especially when you're surrounded by other women and young women who think the same way as far as how they want to appear or how they want to present themselves. So when you're living with people or when you're surrounded by those type of people and those type of women, it's really not that difficult, because when you step out, you see them dressed, and it's like, okay, I definitely need to change the way I'm looking because I need to look the part that they are. So I feel as though that's also a benefit. And then the other thing is just being proud of who I am. I really, really just love just who I am. I take pride in our culture, being a Muslim woman, being an NGT or striving to be an NGT. I just think that that's amazing, and I'm very, very pleased and thankful for what Elijah Muhammad gave us. So that gives me a lot to just be able to get up and, like, you know, I'm definitely going to throw on this headpiece because I'm happy that he gave it to us. And I definitely like the way that people respond when they see us. Although it is something different, it's good to be different. That's something that people never seen. That's something that represents a new authority. So I definitely enjoy that. So I just enjoy being different, and I'm proud of it.
Yes, ma'am. See, Yes, that is so true as well, because I know growing up as a teenager, it's like you want to stand out. You do want to be someone who is the person that people like and that everyone goes to. And definitely, I know in my experience, one of the things that happens when you're dressed modestly is that you do stand out. Everyone wants to know who you are and where you're coming from and why you're dressed that way. And it's definitely positive attention that you receive. People do have a lot of questions, but the caliber of the people who even approach you is so different. So I think that's wonderful, and I think that's a great example of what modesty means. And I want to take it to Sister Janay. And last week you actually mentioned how, or last episode that we had, you actually mentioned how women objectify ourselves, and it has a lot to do with our self-esteem. And I wanted to ask you if you had any suggestions on how, really, or actually can you bear witness at all to how dressing modestly can actually increase your self-esteem? So if you wanted to talk about that.
Well, it pretty much comes with the territory, especially when you're dressing modestly amongst other sisters who are dressing modestly. But I talk about when you're out by yourself and you're dressing modestly. Most cases, you will get approached by another sister with a smile on her face rather than with an attitude. You know how I don't know if anybody knows, but when I was a little younger coming up in high school, it's this catty thing, and the shorter my shorts are, the shorter your shorts are, the more I don't like you. I don't know how it works. I don't know what that is, but that's the thought process. But when you dress modestly, there's nothing to dislike. I don't dislike you because you're not dressed the way that I am. I like you because you're dressed the way that I wish I could dress, that I don't feel strong enough to dress yet because somebody didn't tell me that I was beautiful growing up. You know what I mean?
Right, yes, ma'am. Let's see. What you said right there is so powerful, because that does happen, and we wonder why. Like, you walk into the room and everybody's mugging on you, quote, so to speak, or saying things when you're dressed immodestly. Because when you're dressing immodestly, you immediately put yourself in a competition. You immediately have to be compared with every other girl that's in the room. Oh, is she shaped like this? Or, oh, well, she has a bigger behind, or she has a fuller chest. Or, I mean, obviously people don't use that type of language the way I'm saying it, but just real talk. When you're walking in the streets and you're immodest, you automatically put yourself in that competition. And we don't really want to be there. We really want to be friends with our other sisters and be able to talk to them and have that sisterhood. But when we're constantly comparing ourselves and then like, man, well, she has more of this than I do, or her hair is longer, or her whatever, and she's getting this type of attention that you want as well, we automatically put ourselves in a position where we have to kind of start fighting each other almost, because we all want attention from men, but of course the man is going to pick whichever one he thinks is the shape in the quote-unquote right way. So, but even with that, it's crazy, but I'm so glad you said that, because there is a dramatic shift that when you're dressed modestly, people will start saying, oh, wow, she's so beautiful. Or let me talk to her, let me do whatever, let me get to know who she is, versus, ooh, I like what I see. So, that was so powerful what you said, because that's exactly what happened.
And if you don't mind,
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, if I may continue, it's really short. It also raises your spirit level. Yesterday I went to, where did I go? BJ's to get some vegetables. And, I was dressed the same way I always dress, with something on my head and something covering my backside with some pants matches. Actually, I think I had on a tan and a pants set yesterday. And the first black woman I saw, now usually when we go past each other, again, it's the competition. You snarl or you don't look at her. Or you see her from afar, but when she gets up close, you act like you didn't see her.
Mm-hmm.
When she saw me, she smiled, and we greeted each other. We don't do that anymore. We don't do that when we don't dress modestly. When we go to Muslim conventions and everybody is dressed modestly, you say, oh, I love your outfit, sister. Where did you get that? But when we go to, the clubs and everybody has on, not that I go to the club, but when you did or you have, everybody has on the tightest dress, it's just not the same love. It's love when you cover up your body. It's no love when you don't, because I can see everything that you have. Okay.
Right, yeah. And yes, that's the truth. That's the realest thing, that we can take ourselves out of that when we respect ourselves. And that's where it starts. In the beginning, we thought we wanted to look a certain way because we wanted to attract men, but really it's not even about that, because we really have to love ourselves. And I really want to take it back to Sister Halimah. And I wanted to ask you, I know you mentioned that your value comes from Allah. So what does it take for you, especially since you're so young, what did it take for you to realize that's where my true value comes from Allah, comes from being a virtuous woman? Because I know a lot of us are struggling with that. We really want to be accepted by society, but it is that love of God that makes us realize that we're more valuable than that. So I guess if you could share an experience or maybe something that you went through to help you to see that your value came from something much higher than what this world thinks.
I would have to say that it definitely comes from studying and, understanding more about, Allah and God, and just building a greater, relationship with Him. I mean, when you love somebody, you want to please Him, you know what I'm saying? So to love somebody, you would have to know Him. So you have to build a relationship, with Allah. And so I think that that helps. And then also, when you get to a point where you realize that it's nothing better. It's really nothing better out here. I began my journey on this path of, modesty. I would have to say, full out being serious about it when I got to high school. I was in 9th grade. Now, prior to that, I was younger. And, I wasn't I grew up Muslim, so of course I dressed modestly, but I wasn't as strict or serious about it as I am now. But, once I got to high school and I really saw the condition of, girls and just how serious immodesty was, how serious virtue was, and just how, really just being real, how bad it was. How low the confidence was, how low the self-esteem was, and just seeing how much girls would do and, just for some attention. And it really what it did was it bore witness to everything that I knew growing up in terms of, a nation can rise no higher than this woman. The training that we receive in our NGT class. And it made me study it even more, wow, because what happens is that you begin to become depressed. You look at this every day and you begin to get frustrated and irritated and upset and hurt because you don't want to see your people or your friends and your peers in this condition. And you become dissatisfied. And so we're taught that dissatisfaction brings about change. So that made me look, for a solution, but the solution was already there. The solution comes from being virtuous women, having self-respect, having confidence, and being modest, virtuous women. And so that's why I was like, okay, well, I need to step up my game. So I'm like, well, let me get myself together, because once I get myself together, then I can, help other people. But I got to start with myself. And so I think that's where, just starting with yourself and then striving to be an example. Because, like I said before, people don't like to hear a lot of talk. They don't really register too well. So, just in plain terms, just be about that life. And people will see that. And people will see the sincerity, and people will see people will see your heart. People will see why you do what you do. And like the sisters were saying, people will begin to ask you questions, and that is such a beautiful opportunity. That's what's such a blessing about dressing modestly and representing, is that you don't have to do a lot of work to push this mission, because what ends up happening is that people will come to you. And, well, let me not say a lot of work. You're going to do work, but I'm saying you don't have to, push yourself on people or, try to get down their throat or, do it in terms of that work. You just be who you are, and people will come to you. Every day I get questions regarding Islam. In some type of way, it's going to be some type of questions. And, of course, in the beginning it's physical. Yes, oh, why do you wear that? Oh, do you have to do this? Oh, do you have... yes, of course it's physical at first, but then, after that, it gets deep and it starts to really get into the foundation and background of what it means to be a Muslim in Islam, and that's just a wonderful, wonderful opportunity. And it just all comes from just accepting your own and being yourself and doing what you know is right and important, which is, representing being an MGT and dressing modestly. So, and it all starts with Allah. So once you start, building that relationship and building your own confidence and self-esteem by trusting in Him, then you get all of that comes. And it's just a beautiful journey. It's just an absolutely beautiful journey, and it's all about trusting Him.
Yes, ma'am. And I think about what the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan said about dressing modestly is really our uphill road, and it's so true about people asking you questions. People want to, and you're right. It starts out physical, but once the people get used to you being dressed differently, then they're like, okay, well. They start seeing you eat with them, and they're like, okay, well, why don't you eat what I'm eating? And then now I can introduce them to how I need to live. Then it comes to, oh, you don't date? So what's up with that? Oh, now I can tell you all about the courtship process. So it really takes a lot of stress off of us, too, as women to think, okay, I got to get all these people to come on and understand what I'm saying. But really, I mean, the minister has said that as well, that if we would just live the life, he would get all his people, because we would be doing and being examples of what Muslim is at all times. And people, that's attractive to people. People are looking for something different. So we have to just be who we are, and we have to love it. So that is awesome, Sister Halimah, and I definitely just appreciate you, ma'am, for saying that. And I want to take it to Sister Krystina. And I wanted to ask you, Sister Krystina, did you ever have or what went through your mind when you decided to start covering your hair? Did you have any reservations, or how did you, well, I guess I should say covering your hair every day, like I'm going to do this every single day. I'm going to be modest at all times. So just, if you had anything with that you wanted to talk about.
Yes, ma'am. It's interesting because I'm not really sure exactly when the day was when I was just like, okay, I'm going to do this every day. I guess somewhere down the line, because I know that sometimes we occasionally do it. You may throw a chiffon on, or you may put a tam on, and then we may go out with our hair out. We may not be as consistent with it, although we do dress modestly. We do cover our hair occasionally. We just may not do it all the time. So I guess the point just came where I decided that I was just going to do it. I mean, I feel as though everyone has that point where you're either going to be exactly who you say all the time, or you're just not going to do it at all. So for me, it was kind of the situation where I just decided that, you know what, I have the outlet in order for me to make this happen. I know that I have so many peers who may not have the opportunity to dress, be able to wear a headpiece every day because they don't have the resources. And, of course, that can become a lot, especially if, you're purchasing garments and it's like $150 and you may not have that money, or you may not have a sister who can make you something, offhand. But for me, I had the resources. I had the ability to create, and I knew how to do it. So, there really was no excuse for me not to be a certain way or represent a certain way all the time. And I believe that Sister Halimah spoke on it. It's sort of just being who you say you are. I guess walking the walk. I had to be an example, and I have the resources to be that example. And it does take courage at the beginning. It takes courage to be like, okay, I'm going to wear this headpiece every time I walk out this door, and I'm going to strive to do it just about 90%. I may throw on a tam, depending on where I'm going, but 90% of the time I want to have on this headpiece. And once you do it, and you do it multiple times, then you start to become creative with it as far as what you want to wear. Okay, I want coral, I want blue, I want lime green. And then it becomes exciting, but it also becomes a way of life, and you don't really think about it anymore. It's just, it happens. You don't necessarily have to pump yourself to do it. you just do it second nature. You just get dressed and they're throwing on the clothes. And everybody's like, wow, you do this every day. Well, I had to start somewhere. It takes a start.
Yes, ma'am. And see, thank you for saying that as well, because I think a lot of people don't understand, or maybe we don't really talk about that as much as well, that it is difficult at first, as far as, first of all, you have to find stuff that looks right, that goes together. You have to figure out, okay, I know for me when I first started trying to cover my hair, like I used to wear like a black scarf because it went with like everything. And I remember my father saying, why are you always wearing such dark colors? Like you should wear bright colors. And I know the minister has told us that as well, that women should wear, you know, floral colors and things that make us look pretty. Like we're not going to a sad time. We have to make sure that we are looking the way that we should feel, that we should be happy. And it is kind of difficult sometimes working it out. And I'm going to ask Sister Halimah another question, but I'm going to ask Sister Janay first. But it's so important that we take our time and realize it is difficult at first, but, you know, we buy one piece at a time, and eventually your wardrobe will increase, and you'll be able to mix and match and to try this here and try that there. But it does take that first step. And once you take that step and get used to shopping differently, it becomes a lot easier for us to be modest every day. And I wanted to ask Sister Janay, how have your relationships with men changed since you started to become modest? And I guess what do you think your husband feels about you being modest?
Oh, okay. That's a two-part question. Well, I don't have a relationship with men. Is that awkward? I don't really. I mean, they're there. They're on this planet. We live with them. But being married, as an MGT, you're taught to speak firm words to men. You're not supposed to have that soft speech. So, I mean, they're there. I don't really know how to answer that question, especially with my husband. I don't have any outside, and then, of course, there's my family, but that's my family. I don't really have any outside male relationships per se. I mean, there is how they may perceive you when you go out into the public, and they'll look. They won't say anything. They may not ask why you're dressed the way you're dressed. Mainly it's women. So on that particular part of your question, I don't have any relationships with men. I do apologize. However, my husband seems to love it. Before, I would wear, I always strive to be modest as I could. But once I started sewing and getting into, my headpieces and my sets and my garments, he really, really adores the fact that I'm striving to be the best that I can be. Because it kind of seemed to me that before, I don't know, you just need to look like how you when you go to class on Saturday, you go in your headpiece, either blue or your brown or your beige or whatever color that you have based on the season, and you look like an MGT and you act like an MGT. You even walk different Saturdays and Sundays. Monday comes around and you're putting on your regular clothes and you just change. It's not the same thing. And your husband notices that. Mine does. He would prefer to me to have the same confidence on Saturday and Sunday and Monday and Tuesday and the rest of the week that I have on the weekend, because I'm an MGT all day, every day. And being an MGT means that I'm a wife and I'm a mother and I'm a sister to my sisters. So being more modest, covering my hair, wearing longer, looser-fitting clothing, that makes him feel like I'm trying my best to be physically, to be more Islamic than I was before. And with me trying my best to do that, he tries his best. So when I look good leaving the house, which I will say, yes, sometimes I do go out looking pretty nice, my husband strives to look just as good as I do. So I'm wearing a headpiece and my nice shoes. He's wearing slacks and his nice shoes. But if I leave the house looking like a bum, he's going to leave the house looking like a bum, and we're going to feel like bums when we leave the house. So he's very, I would say he is very proud. And I will say that my change to be more modest definitely has changed him.
Yes, ma'am. Well, praise be to Allah. I definitely appreciate your insight appreciate your insight as well, because that is something very true, because we know that the woman measures herself up to Allah, and that really we set the standard for our relationships and all of the above. So it's like you said, if you are looking good, your husband doesn't want to be walking next to you and he's not looking good. And it shows a lot about self-respect and really honoring who you are and honoring that you belong to Allah first. And I just think that's really beautiful. So I definitely appreciate you for sharing that as well. And I wanted to take it to Sister Halimah, and I actually wanted to ask you, since I've seen some of your videos, I wanted to ask you, how do you shop modestly? Like, what do you do? Because I know if you're not necessarily sewing, or if you don't have a sister near you that sews, you still have to go to stores. So what do you do to incorporate pieces in this world and make them into something that's modest and beautiful?
Good question. Well, I want to first start off by saying that, I mean, mixing and matching and working it out and styling is great, and I enjoy doing it, but it is nothing better than sewing and crafting and making your own garment, because it's always going to be something off. That's one thing. It's always going to be something that could have been longer, or could have had a longer sleeve, or could have, it's always going to be something. But when you sew it and design it yourself, you have no problems. It's everything that you want it to be, and that's really the best way to go about doing it. For me, I like to make modesty accessible. So I want to show. I love being able to say when I talk to girls, and they're like, "Oh my God, yeah, I want to wear that like you do. I want to look like that. Where you get it from? What store do you shop at?" I'm like, Burlington. You go to Burlington? They're like, oh yeah, I go there. Okay, well just make sure that you wear a shirt with it, and then put some nice hair pants with it. Oh, okay, I got you. I'm gonna do that. And I'm like, and that just makes it accessible. They don't feel like it's a whole another world, and it's so far fetched for them to do that. I shop at the same stores that they shop at, and just try to make it as modest as possible. One thing is looser pants. So I try to shop for styles of pants that are looser. So I personally really love harem pants, and harem pants are pants that are cut at an angle that are larger than, they're not tight-fitted. And so I love those. They have many different prints and styles and things, and those are just looser pants. I just try to find loose pants, and then I try to find dresses. I almost never buy shirts. I just buy dresses, because they're longer, and then wear those, long cardigans, infinity scarves, more accessible as, scarves and, Tams. I just try to just buy things that are, I think a good rule of thumb is long and loose. So, so I just pretty much stick to that, is to try to find loose pants and dresses as top. And once you have an eye for it, you'll immediately, once you have a modest eye, when you go shopping, you'll immediately look at something and see it as so much more than what it, what other people may view it as or what it's supposed to be. So, you just start putting outfits like that together. You just take it, like you said, one piece at a time. You buy one thing, and then you realize, oh, my God, it goes with this, and then it goes with that. And before you know, you have a whole modest wardrobe. Just one step at a time.
Yes, ma'am. And what you said about sewing, that is so, so true, because at the end of the day, that is really the best thing to do, because when you go to the store, you can find, I know for me, what I do a lot of times is I buy dresses, like those short dresses that they sell as dresses. I buy them and I'll wear them tops, because they're like really, really cute tops. So you just kind of have to work it out sometimes. And like you said, when you get that eye for it, it makes it so much easier to kind of pick out the things that you think will look cute and will be good for your body type. But it's really all about having a vision in mind as to what a righteous woman should look like, and then piecing together so that you can still give off that image without really sacrificing anything. You just have to, sometimes you have to add sleeves to things and, add a jacket to this. But it's really, it's a learning curve. You just have to figure out what to do and not get frustrated, too, because I remember many days where I would just be frustrated and be like, I need to go to a different mall or something. But it definitely can be done. You just really have to have that vision in mind as to what you want to look like and not really be willing to sacrifice on anything. You just have to make it work. So I definitely appreciate that as well. And I also wanted to let any of the callers know that if you had a story about modesty that you wanted to share or if you had a comment, you can always call into the show. Just when you call in, press 1, and we'd be happy to welcome you on and to hear what you have to say as well. If you're listening online, the number to call in is 646-478-0603. So if you want to call in, just press 1, and we would be happy to have you. And I'm going to take it right back over to Sister Krystina, and I want to ask you, since you are a seamstress, what really inspires you to continue to be creative and design, and what made you want to design your own clothes?
Okay, so what made me want to decide to design my own clothes? Well, when I kind of made up my mind that I had the resources to pretty much create and do whatever it was that I wanted to be. If I wanted to wear something every day, that I could make it. I had the resources and I had the know-how. So once I started, like I think I was saying before, you just got to start somewhere. Once I started, I would go outside and I would wear it. And at first, a lot of sisters would ask me, where'd you get that? Did your mom make it for you? Blase. I was like, no, I made it. So after a while of making my own stuff, I kind of got, it was sort of taking me away from shopping because I was such a shopaholic that once I started sewing, I would stay at the fabric store and I would be looking at patterns, and then it was all of a sudden, what do I want to wear? It was just the feel that I can basically create anything that I would possibly want to wear. That is so amazing. Just the thought of that was like, okay, so I could put colors, I could bedazzle, I could, match jewelry with this. I can really do anything. Like, it's all in my hands. The ball is in my court. I don't necessarily have to worry about finding it somewhere, or I don't have to worry about having the money to get it or order it. I just can do it, like, right now. So that kind of sparked me because I would spend so much time putting fabrics together, prints with solids, and just doing all kinds of crazy stuff that would actually turn out looking nice. So when I wore it, of course, I would get questioned, they want it, and then I figured, well, I might as well create, I guess, a living, not necessarily a living, but the ability for other sisters to have the opportunity to wear some of the pieces that I have, because it was so odd. Especially some of my pieces are kind of odd because I never really saw anybody do animal print or anything of that nature. So when my first line came out and I put a lot of the animal print in there, it was just, wow, you really did that. I don't really know what to say about that. So it gave me the opportunity to sort of give younger sisters an idea. It wasn't necessarily for me to have a business or for people to purchase it from me. It was just for me to give other young sisters an idea of what you can actually do with a garment. It doesn't necessarily have to be solid from head to toe. You don't have to be brown, white, blue, beige, or maybe throw some cranberry in there. You can really do whatever it is that you want to do as long as it stays in a certain protocol as far as this should be this long. Or if you're going to wear a headpiece, you should probably have your tunic this long, or your pants should be this wide. You can really do whatever you want. You don't necessarily have to be, I guess, in the box. You can step out of the box, use what you have, but make it fit yourself. So that was my idea when I started Malika K, was just to give other sisters an idea of what you can do and to really take it and be creative with it, to make your own style out of the style that we were given.
Yes, ma'am. And see, that is so wonderful. I just think about how the Honorable Elijah Muhammad was saying that now is a time really for us to have our creative minds back and to figure out how to really do something for self. And see, that's really what I love when I hear about like entrepreneurs and business people, that they always, the ones who say, I wasn't doing this to make money or I wasn't doing this to be known, but I was doing it really because I love it, because I have a passion for it. And that's really what it's about. That's really the only way that work will become a love, something that you love to do. If you just do it because you love it, and then if you happen to make money doing it, well, praise be to Allah. But this is just something that I would be doing anyway. And really, that is so beautiful that you really did it for yourself, first of all, to wear what you wanted to wear, but also when people ask questions, really to continue to inspire others that it can and it is beautiful to be modest. And I just think that is so on time and so important that we constantly feel good about ourselves when we walk down the street, and that we look good, and that we're not just only wearing certain colors and that's it. When we go to the mosque on Saturday and Sunday, we're really in military uniforms. Like, we're really in uniform, in unity, and we're working together at the mosque for the mission. And then when we are in our own individual lives during the week, we continue to be beautiful, but we also are in a more expressive form of self. So I just think that is really, really wonderful. And like I said, I think your stuff is really pretty. I know I've been admiring from afar for a little while, but I think that is really, really awesome that you're doing that. And I just hope and can pray that you continue to keep up the good work. And I wanted to ask Sister Janay a question. And I wanted to ask you, with modesty, it's also important that we behave modestly. And I wanted to ask you, how should a virtuous woman behave when she's in public? Because it's not just about wearing a long dress and a long top, because if you act other than yourself, then they'll be kind of confused, first of all, when they see you, and then you have a foul mouth or you're loud or you're anything like that. But I wanted to ask you specifically, how should a modest woman, in your opinion, how should a modest woman behave?
Well, when it comes, in my opinion, of course, when it comes to modesty, behavior is key. Regardless of whether you're at home or abroad, like you said, Sister Keela, when you walk out of your house, dress modestly, but you have a foul manner of speech, or if you're loud and obnoxious, or if you have bad habits like smoking, or, just things that a woman should not do. These are not modest. How I speak to people based on whatever it is that we're talking about needs to be modest. For instance, if I'm going out with my friends and we're getting loud, and granted, I have definitely been a person who has done this before in my lifetime. But say you're going to the mall and you're just being loud, shouting random things. We actually were, I don't remember what it was that we were shouting, but it was not nice. And people were looking at us like we were crazy. Like, what is wrong with you? If you're supposed to be modest, and your modesty is supposed to be your protection, it's supposed to keep you from being harmed. If I'm yelling, that is going to single me out as much as possible to whoever it is that wants to do harm. I'm going to be put in harm's way straight off that, because I'm the loud-looking one. Whenever you see a scary movie, it is always the loud, obnoxious person that dies first. That's just what happens.
Yes.
Your manner of speech, your actions, we aren't to smoke. Your inside should be just as clean as your outside. So if you look good on the outside, you need to feel good on the inside. And I don't just mean your self-esteem, but your actual body. How you eat is a part of your modesty. What you're eating. We do not eat pork. Pork is not a modest animal. He has no shame, which goes along with why a lot of us act obnoxiously and dress the way we do, because we do eat pork. When you eat pork, it causes you not to have shame because the animal has no shame. all I can think of right now as far as what you eat and how you act and how you dress.
Yes, ma'am, and I definitely appreciate you for sharing that as well, just because I think sometimes we don't realize that it really is a lifestyle. Modesty isn't just the way you're dressed, or if, my top touches the floor, not my top, my skirt touches the floor and my hair is always covered, so I'm this and I'm that. It's not just that. It's about being a kind person, being a compassionate person, being an understanding person, not being boastful, not being arrogant. And all of that is very, very important, and that's why it's a way of life. It's not just, I make sure when I go to the store my top is long enough, because it's not. It's all-encompassing. The look is just the first step. You really have to cleanse the mind and the soul and the heart, really, to consider yourself a virtuous woman and a modest woman, and that's something that we're all striving toward, as far as being the whole picture. So I think that it's very, very important as well. It looks like we have a couple callers, so I wanted to give the callers an opportunity to speak as well. So the caller with the last 4 digits of your number, 6429. Assalamu alaikum, you're on the air.
Alaikum salam, Queen. How are you?
I'm doing well, sir. How are you?
Yes, man, I'm fine by Allah's grace. This is Brother Muhammad from New Orleans, Louisiana. I'm absolutely loving the show right now, and I'm definitely enjoying it. These are very, very important topics that you all are talking about that should be discussed across the nation of Islam. And just keep up the good work and doing what you're doing. But I have a question for Sister Krystina Muhammad, and my question is, how would you be able to approach a sister who is around 12 years of age, who feels as though that if she doesn't dress modestly, she wouldn't be able to get the attention from men? So if you were to spend a day with a 12-year-old who felt as though that dressing like Nicki Minaj will get her more attention, how would you be able to demonstrate to her that her worth is much greater than her body? Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam. So go right ahead, Sister Krystina.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Brother O'Rourke, for asking me that question. Let's see. The interesting part is I know a few 12-year-olds that are kind of like that. And I feel as though in any case, even if they aren't young, if they're older, if they're my age, the objective is to first be who you are. That's the first thing. To change anyone's mind or to have an effect on anybody is to just be who you say you are. To have pride in yourself and what you say you like to do. I mean, if I say I'm modest, then I should just be that way all the time. My approach isn't, I try not to address youth, as in those who are significantly younger than me, too aggressive, because in that case I can always see myself in the young women that I deal with. So I don't necessarily go after them like, you need to change the way you dress because men ain't going to like you. And I mean, to spend a day with me, I'll just be who I am, and you can try to be who you think you are, and we can just hang out. I think the important thing is just to be yourself. In any case, if a person's talking this way, to just remain who you are, to not necessarily downgrade to their level, but to just be yourself, to give them the idea that they don't necessarily have to do all of that to be beautiful or to get attention, because modest women do get attention. We get a lot of attention, and it's a lot of positive attention as far as you never have to go into a building and not have someone open your door, or, that sweet love that you get from brotherhood and sisterhood, and even from people of different cultures. It's definitely love and attention. So that's definitely the attention that you want to show younger girls, that's the opportunity that you want. That's what you want. You want that kind of attention. If I'm going to spend a day with someone, I think my objective is just to be who I am. and just to give them a glimpse into my life. Because we all do see Nicki Minaj and Beyonce. We see the covering of it because we don't know these people, but we see how everyone else treats them. But, I mean, is that really the objective? I mean, is that really how you want to be treated? I mean, Nicki Minaj and Beyonce and a lot of them, they get some pretty slurred remarks about them as far as inappropriate things. And that's not really, I can't really see any woman or girl being attracted to that. I mean, you're not really. You think you are, but once you have an old man lusting after you, that's not cool. So you definitely just want to be an example. I think that was the main thing that we were taught as MGT is that, you know, your work isn't necessarily to go out in the community. Your work is to be MGT. Your work is to dress and be the woman that I am teaching you to be, that I prescribe for you. That's your work. As far as reaching the community, is just to be a modest woman, a Muslim girl in training. So once we all strive to do that, that's the work. And that work is very difficult. It's very hard. It takes courage. It takes strength and confidence. So once you put your eggs in that basket, that's where the work is, and people do notice it, and people do desire that.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. I definitely thank you for answering that question. And I just wanted to respond to that as well. I was going to say, as a brother, you are actually in a pretty powerful position as well to explain to this sister how men see her, because you're a man. So I know when my father would speak to me about, you know, you should wear things that are different, and he started, as I started becoming a teenager, and he was trying to really impress upon me that the way that men see you and the way that men treat you is not really what you want. And I think that especially as a brother who sincerely cares for this young sister, with you being real with her and saying this is what men do and this is what men are thinking when they see you dressed like this, we don't really want that. We don't really want a strange man looking at us up and down and licking his lips and saying all types of crazy stuff. We don't understand that we don't want that, though, because that's what we mostly see. But, yeah, like Sister Krystina said, having a mentor for this young sister where she sees someone who is living an alternative lifestyle and really just continuing to encourage her, not to always say, oh, no, you shouldn't be dressed like that, that's unacceptable, but to encourage her to the right thing is something that I think will definitely be beneficial. So I definitely appreciate your comments, sir, as well. And we have, go ahead.
Can I add to that?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, okay. Yes, ma'am. Being 12, that's such a young age, and me being 16, I do like talking to girls my age, a little older than me, and really younger than me. I really do love that. I have a little sister. She's 14, so me and her, we do a lot of things together, and we're pretty much on the same page. And my younger brother, he's 12, and he's a boy. And so with that, you know, it's interesting, you know, having him, you know, talk to us and stuff like that about his experiences at school. And he just really bears witness to the fact that, like, boys, it's the difference between a boy being attracted to you and a boy respecting you. And I think that when I do talk to, like, younger girls, I just try to, you know, like, really explain to them the difference because, I mean, a boy can be attracted to you, but that doesn't mean, you know, he respects you. And that's not the type of, you know, attention that you want. One of the reasons that we dress modestly is because we know that Allah doesn't intend for us to have our adornments exposed to the world. They are gifts from Allah, so the one man we selected our mate. Our bodies are beautiful and a gift, but we should not and do not have to expose our adornment to everyone. And that's and just, you know, explaining to her, because being 12, I mean, you're really young, and just explain to her how precious, you know, your body is, talking about how, being real. You're also talking about how serious and crazy this world is. When you're dressing immodestly, you may be striving to get the attention of a little boy, but you're also getting the attention of those old creepy teachers down the hall, the janitor. You're getting the attention of random men walking down the street, and that's not attention that I'm sure that you desire when you put the outfit on. So, and that's something to think about, because so many women and girls today are getting, sexually abused and hurt and raped, and that's unfortunate. Now, that's not completely due to the way they dress. I do understand that, but it plays a part, and we just strive to do the best that we can to protect, ourselves, and modesty really does play a part in it. Girls, dressing modestly and being around other people who do not dress modestly, girls register the difference. I want to say a personal account. I was in school, and I'm just going to be real. I was in school, and a boy, he decided that he wanted to go down the hallway and he wanted to just touch every girl as he went down. And he touched them in a very inappropriately, but he did not touch me. He didn't even get near me. And the girls were looking like, okay, excuse me, like, what made you just think that you could do that to me? And you didn't even touch her. Like, she right here with us, and da-da-da. Like, they got really upset about that. But then it's like, I was like explaining to them that it's nothing about me. It's never about me. It's nothing personal about me. It's just the fact that I was wearing something different than you all wearing. So it's like, you could do the same thing. So it's not like I'm better than y'all, so that's why, it's not like that. It's just that if you were to cover yourself, he wouldn't even think about it. It wouldn't even be a question. It wouldn't even occur to his mind. He would have so much respect for you, he wouldn't even think that would be okay, But, when you carry yourself in a certain way, that sets a standard for how everybody else feels it's okay to treat you. So that's one thing too, and just once she understands the difference between a boy being attracted to you and respecting you, they'll really get the difference. And once she realizes that she can be beautiful and still be modest, that's good too, because she'll have high confidence, and that's good. So once she's good with herself, it doesn't even she knows that boys are gonna think she's pretty and stuff like that, but she doesn't need to feel a certain way about her body and stuff like that, because she realizes that she's more than her body. So just talking about those different risks and factors and different things like that may help her as well.
Right, yes, ma'am. That is a powerful response, and that is very key, that there is because men are attracted to women, so that's the thing that we have to remember. Dressing immodestly, of course you're going to get looks because you're a woman. If you weren't a woman, then you wouldn't get looks. So, it doesn't mean that you're special. And I think that we make that mistake that when we walk down the street and we're immodest, that when people look at us, we feel special, but that's not true. The type of man that you attract when you are attracting him to your mind, then you're special, because he was coming over to talk to you and not someone else, because you're the only one
right.
with your mind. So that's powerful. Like, that is such a good and wonderful point that you brought up. And it looks like we have another caller. Last 4 digits, 5518. You can speak now, sir.
Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam.
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Well, assalamu alaikum. My name is Brother Kevin Muhammad from Wilmington, Delaware, Newark, Delaware. And I just wanted to throw a question out there to the floor, because it seems as though all of the hosts, or the host and the guests as well, happen to be all seamstresses. And I just wanted to throw this out there because, I do commend you all for, upholding this topic of modesty. But I also wanted to make mention that, women definitely are not the only ones that, need this lesson. So with this in mind, and being that you all are seamstresses, is it possible that we would see a men's collection coming out from y'all anytime soon?
Krystina.
Oh, go ahead, ma'am.
Oh, I just said Sister Krystina.
Oh. Okay, I hear me? Do I have the floor? Yes?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Oh, okay. Man, I knew he was going to call in. Frank, Honestly, men's clothes is really hard to make. Okay, I just want to put that out there. And I commend all those who do tailoring because that is really difficult. I mean, it takes a lot of work to just hem a pair of men's pants. You got to even cut the pants in a certain diagonal direction. Like, who wants to do all that? Not saying that I wouldn't want to do all that, but the interesting part is that I heard there were some brothers. I'm not really sure where they're from, but I heard there were like a couple brothers who actually do tailor clothes in the nation, like some young brothers who tailor clothes. And if any young brother on this call is interested in learning how to tailor clothes, I think that would be an awesome thing to do. Matter of fact, Brother Kevin, I think that's something you should try to do. From what I can recall, you know how to make bow ties, right? So I feel like maybe you should be the one to venture into doing the whole men's collection, because that's definitely something I feel like can become something big. I mean, you can't leave the brothers out. You definitely can't. So it has to be a brother, because only a brother can have an eye for what a brother likes to wear. I'm just saying.
I guess I could be like a Renaissance man.
Yeah, definitely. I think we should just go ahead and do it. Just be the example. Don't even be the example. Start it off, and then everybody else can just come along.
Yes, ma'am.
Be the catalyst.
Yes, ma'am.
So, if anyone didn't know, Brother Kevin and Sister Krystina are siblings. So, if you sensed it, you're right. So, praise be to Allah for that. And yes, I know Brother Ayende, he makes bow ties, and I don't know if he's listening, but you might want to call him as well, because I know when I was at Savior's Day, there were brothers who had different, like, lines of, I remember, it wasn't this Savior's Day, but the Savior's Day before last, I met a brother who had sweatshirts that said, "We accept Master Farad." It was really cool. And so there's definitely people out there, Brother Kevin, who are doing their thing. And well, praise be to Allah, because the brothers are definitely part of the Modesty as well, because it's really about attracting people based on higher principles, based on a spiritual plane, and not based on something so reptilian as the body, because of course it's necessary for us to continue on the population, but God has asked us to do that within the sanctity of marriage. So we really just want to take that off of our minds, really. We want to go ahead and make sure that we are representing ourselves as being part of God's greatest creation, that we're the Khalifa. And we want to make sure that we continue to show that it's more to us than just the physical. And the physical is only temporary anyway, so there's a lot more to us than that. And I wanted to ask Sister Janay, since she's been a little bit more quiet as far as the questions from the callers are concerned. And one of the things that is definitely true is that it's natural for women to seek attention from men, and we mentioned that a little bit before. And as far as, like, I know you have a young daughter, what will you do to with her to teach her value and to make her know that that she is valuable in the eyes of men, but also in the eyes of God?
He's right. Well, I think one of the things we might have to do is buy a shotgun, because I'm not really sure I have little boys coming up to my house asking for my daughter. I'm just kidding. I think I would teach her. Well, first I want her to understand that there's a qualification for her. I did want to say when the question was asked about the 12-year-old sister, but I can put it with this as well. I want her to ask the question every time she leaves her home when she gets older: what work has this brother put in for my attention? What qualifies him for my attention? And why, if I feel this way, why do I feel I need his? Just 3 questions. What qualifies him? What work has he put in? why do I feel like I need his attention? That should allow her to think on a different level as far as, oh, I just need this attention because I'm craving it. And inshallah, she'll be able to get the attention that she seeks from her parents because she has her mother and her father in her life. But I want her to believe in herself that she is worth more than what somebody is just looking at. I want her to believe that she is, and actually when I was pregnant, I used to pray for this when I was pregnant with her, that she would be more of a soldier for Allah rather than a soldier for some brother that she doesn't know. I want her to be a soldier for the mission, because if she's with the mission, then Allah will grant her someone else who is with the mission, and they can be for the mission for together. They won't need to worry about what's going on outside these doors. Now, I know, and I'm not prepared, but inshallah I'll be prepared for it later on in life. I know that there is going to be a battle with her and the world. And I know that because I see it with other sisters and their daughters. But if I can just prepare her to believe that she is from Allah, she does not need these other brothers outside this door, then I know that my job is done. Just for her to know, I am a soldier, I am a sister, I am a woman first, and I came from Allah. I do not need the attention from these other brothers that did not put in no work for me.
Yes, ma'am. And see, that is so, oh my gosh, that is so powerful, because I know my dad used to say that to me all the time. He used to say, what did they do to deserve your niceness? And I didn't understand that, because I'm a nice person. I'm nice to everyone. But he was like, no, men take that as you like them. So you don't need to be nice to them. You don't need to be their friend. You don't need to do anything for them. They don't deserve your time. And I just thought that was so crazy until I went to college and got away from my parents, and I realized that my father was absolutely correct. These men, no. Brother, there is and it's just so funny that you say that, because it's so true. You really have to understand how valuable you are, and that is something that I think that we have to. It's funny, I'm thinking about how I was as a teenager and how now as I'm getting older and more mature, it's if and when I have a daughter, to remember that I went through a struggle, and it wasn't that my parents didn't tell me I was beautiful. It wasn't that they didn't try to take me the best way, but you really have to accept this for yourself. And until you get that, there is going to be I want to do what they're doing, so leave me alone. So you have to kind of really encourage your daughters and your younger brothers and sisters into the right way so that they make the right decision, and not try to just force them to do it because that only pushes people away. And I wanted, as we come to a close, I just wanted to take it back to Sister Halimah and ask her, did you ever have, I know you're a little bit younger, but did you ever have that struggle maybe with your parents, with them trying to teach you this way, and you were, I guess just want to ask you your opinion if you had any experiences that you wanted to share as far as that's concerned.
Could you repeat the question?
Yes, ma'am. I was just asking, so did you ever have any, from a younger perspective, from being a teenager, that experience where you wanted to maybe do something a little different and you were just trying to figure it out where you wanted to go? I had asked a similar question earlier, but this is a little different.
I would have to say I think I did, and it was for a moment, I want to do it my way. I feel like this is good. And, it's kind of funny how you are when you're young. You just feel like it's nothing else in the world. Like, anything I am absolutely right is nothing I need. Nobody understands me. I am absolutely correct about this, and there's nothing anybody can say. Like, sometimes, we can be really, tight in our ways and stuff. And thankfully, my parents were patient with me, and they're firm and patient. So I didn't get too crazy, but I did want to do things a little different, and I was, I guess you could say maybe testing the waters and stuff like that. But when I tell you that once you see, once you see it, you don't want it. Like, you realize it's not as much as you thought it was. It's overrated. It's just being like everybody else is not really what's hot. And then, like, it's just what we have been given is so much better. And I think sometimes, of course, I'm not the age of a mother, and I'm probably not going to be having children soon. What I can say, I know just being a child, is that sometimes you just have to, you have to let them see it for themselves. Not too far, because you don't want them to just make unnecessary mistakes, but just close enough to see it, just close enough to realize that this is not what I want, because that they will forever have that experience. They will forever know that, no, I don't, after that, they'll be through with it, if you know what I mean. Like, they won't, it won't be a wonder kind of thing. Like, they'll see, like, I don't need that. Like, that's not what I need in my life. Like, just being around, like, even with hanging around certain people, because always, experience doesn't have to be the best teacher. You can learn from other people. Just being around girls who have gotten themselves in uncomfortable situations, being around girls who have done this and this happened to them and this, things like that. Realizing that that's not the road you want to go down, and we've been given something so much better than that, and you don't have to do that. So sometimes being young, you kind of want to just experiment and do different things. But I think to just show them what out there. I feel like sheltering your child is not always the best thing. Don't have them go out there doing anything crazy, but educate them about what is out there, because then so then they can know and they won't do it. Like, you have to educate them about what can happen so they won't want to experiment and mess themselves up, So that's one thing that I was allowed to do, find out, like, what could happen if I do X, Y, and Z. And because of that, I came back 10 times stronger, and I don't want to go down that road at all, and I want to encourage others not to. So, yes, ma'am, I would just say for a moment, wanted to do my own thing, but realized that wasn't hot.
Yes, ma'am. And, well, praise be to Allah that you have made that decision really at such a young age, because I know for me, honestly, I did not make that decision until college, and I was like, all right, I'm done with this life, because this is just not, this is not right. This is not how I want to be treated. This is not how, I don't want crazy people looking at me, like you said before, the janitor, the random, and I guess I should say that but no, just being very real, these random, like, there might be one person that you might have been, like you said, trying to get their attention, but it's not that he's not the only one who was noticing. So you definitely want to make sure that you are representing your value and not your body, because really your body is nobody's business besides your husband. Just straight up. It's nobody's business. Who cares? Like, it's not, with knowing what I look like, how does that affect your life, sir? Like, it doesn't matter. You need to know who I am. You need to know how I can help you get this business done or whatever it is that we're doing. But besides that, you don't need to know. It's just plain and simple. It doesn't matter. And so I definitely think that it's so important. And this is going to be my last question before I go into announcements and just closing remarks from all of our featured guests today. And I wanted to talk to Sister Krystina. And I was looking through The Power of Modesty, the book that you all are featured in, and I noticed that Brother Kevin Sr. mentioned the fact that modesty helps to promote having sincere companionship. And I wanted to ask you, and maybe actually Sister Janay as well, what does that mean to you, or what do you think about when you think of those words? Because I definitely sparked up some thoughts in my mind about what sincere companionship is.
Yes, ma'am. You know what? I think Sister Janay touched on it a little bit earlier regarding how there just seems to be more love. I think the sincere companionship just comes from two people understanding a mission or understanding a purpose of something and working towards that purpose together, because ultimately you help each other through it. You don't just help yourself, but it's that partnership that if I see my sister doing one thing, that may change my mind to do something a little different too, regarding if she's doing something better, then I'll push myself a little bit or inspire me to do more. So I think the sincere companionship comes from 2 people or 3 people or 4 people, a group of sisters who are friends or companions who work together to be better. I guess that would be my opinion about it. Just, I feel as though that's what happens when we all pretty much join our NVT class and we become one unit. And, you know, naturally you find 1 or 3 or 4 or 5 people that you may click with more than others, but with that group of friends that you may vibe better with, if one person is striving to do something great, then it kind of sparks something in each individual that is amongst that group to do that same thing, to strive to be great in that mindset. And it's interesting because so many times we're used to jealousy or envy. Oh, well, I want to do that, or I can't do that. But in reality, it's like you don't necessarily feel like you can't do it. You feel like you can, and you're, in a sense, grateful that there's somebody who has the courage to do that, because now they have given you the opportunity to find that courage within yourself to do it. So I definitely feel as though that's what that sincere companionship really is.
Yes, ma'am. That's very, very intriguing as well, just how it is you really can see the person's mind. So if you really would be attracted to them based on who they are and be willing to work with them and fight for them and fight with them, just because this is a beautiful spirit that I am working with, and it has so much more to do than just the physical of this world. But this person's spirit is just, it vibes with mine, and we get it together. So it's just, when I was looking at that, I was like, wow, that's really, really beautiful. And so yes, ma'am. And actually, unless Sister Janay, did you want to say anything else about that?
No, ma'am. I think she hit some very beautiful points. I mean, I do agree with the statement 100%. I do believe that modesty definitely promotes for a sincere love between your fellow companions, your companionship. Mm-hmm. And I don't have anything to add.
Yes, ma'am. Well, praise be to Allah. So I just want to quickly mention that this episode of ProclaimIt Radio was brought to us by TravelAlly.biz, your one-stop shop for affordable cruises, vacations, passports, and weekend getaways, as well as hotel stays, and that's TravelAlly.biz. And I wanted to just take a few more seconds for you all to tell everyone how they can contact you if they have any questions or if they want to support your videos or your fashion line. So I want to start out with Sister Janay, if you just wanted to share, how to share how people can contact you, whether it's Twitter or email, or you can go right ahead, Sister Janay.
Yes, ma'am. Well, you can contact me by either Facebook or Twitter or email, all three of which are my name. Janay Muhammad, or Janay Elise Muhammad on Facebook, Janay Muhammad on Twitter, and Muhammad.Janay on my Gmail. And if you need to spell my first name, it is Janay.
All right, yes, ma'am. And then I'll take it over to Sister Krystina as well, if you just want to share how people can contact you in the future.
Yes, ma'am. You can follow me on Instagram, Twitter, or on Facebook. My Facebook is my name, Krystina Muhammad, Krystina E. Muhammad, but Krystina is spelled with a K-R-Y. The same with my Instagram name is Krystina Muhammad, K-R-Y is Krystina. And my Twitter, I believe, is Krystina_M. Honestly, I'm not even sure what my Twitter name is, which is pretty sad. But I believe it's that. But you can also email me, too, at kemuhammad@comcast.net.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. So and I'll take it over to Sister Halimah as well, if you can tell us how we can watch your videos and your blog and how we can contact you.
Okay, if you would like to contact me, you can, we can contact you on Facebook, facebook.com/HalimahNia2. If you want to contact on Twitter, my name is Halimah Nia. On Instagram, it's Halimah Nia. And if you would like to watch my videos on YouTube, it will be youtube.com/HalimahNiaM.
Yes, ma'am. And I'm telling you all, their stuff is really, really good. These are some powerful sisters who are definitely trying to strive in the way of Allah, and they have a lot of really good things to say. So if you want to, reach out. And I just wanted to thank you all for coming onto the show, all the people who tweeted. Thank you so much for being on and listening. I definitely appreciate you all's time. And for the guests as well, coming on and just talking about something that is very important for us to focus on and make sure that we just talk about how modesty is a lifestyle and that it's beautiful. And I just wanted to leave you all with these words, and they are: if self-improvement is the basis for community development, then the solutions to all of our community issues are within us. So I just want to encourage everyone to proclaim it today. And I want to leave everybody in the greeting words of peace and paradise of Assalamu alaikum.
Awake from the dream of the picture you painted. If you want it, proclaim it. Say it loud and proclaim it. Make sure you leave with something more than you came with. You will achieve, fueled by the will to attain it. So no more complaining, proclaim it.